Today, we're talking about cold and flu, quick recovery, and effective prevention. I'll be sharing with you a range of anything from home remedies to supplements, medicinal herbs, uh, different foods, therapeutic interventions that I've explored and made use of over the years. I'm Ben Ufana, and for me, the fact that I'm self-employed, I cannot afford to get sick. It could be a disaster because that means appointments that I have to cancel and reschedule, and it's a huge headache, and it's lost income and time and money that I can't make up for. So over the years, I've devised ways to, if I were to come down with either a cold or flu, to get well much faster, to recover uh, very quickly, and better yet, to prevent from getting sick altogether. So I want to share today in this video some of the strategies or approaches that I've used over the years. In my 20s and 30s, I didn't have quite as much knowledge or insight or understanding when it came to either foods or supplements, but I did come across or figure out a few natural remedies to begin with. Into my 30s, I was spending a lot of time primarily going back and forth between New York City and Boston. And in Boston, where the winters could be especially severe, temperatures often down in the teens and single digits, even sometimes below zero. It'd be freezing my ass off. It could actually stay in the ranging between the 30s down to the 20s, teens, and single digits for weeks on end. And the winters just seem to drag on indefinitely. And the Boston area, they get about 3 times as much snow as New York City. Uh, one year they were calling it the snowpocalypse, and literally the snow was up to the top of my head. And there were tunnels that, walking down the sidewalk, you were moving through tunnels. It was that bad. And I was out in the cold much of the time. I was making house calls, commuting by bus and subway, and often spending a great deal of time out in this freezing ass cold weather. Despite that, there were winters in which I managed to stay healthy. I didn't come down with a cold or flu. I was putting about an ounce of organic apple cider vinegar into a glass of water. And I would drink that at least once, but often several times a day. And that has a lot of advantages. If you, at times during the winter, I would be more susceptible to coming down with the cold or flu. And if I did catch a cold, it would often settle into my lungs. And even after the cold abated, I would still be coughing, often for weeks on end or a month or maybe more, which is very frustrating and inconvenient. It could also keep me awake at night. It made it difficult for me to fall asleep because I was coughing so damn much. What I found by drinking the apple cider vinegar is that it broke up a lot of the congestion or the mucus that would normally accumulate. And so I didn't get that persistent cough. And drinking the apple cider vinegar, as I said, there were winters where either I didn't get sick at all. I remember one time where my living situation in New York City was falling apart because my housemate broke the lease at kind of a last minute notice to said he's moving to Israel. And it's so difficult to have to find a place in New York City that doesn't cost an absolute fortune, that is halfway decent. And so there were a lot of nights where I wasn't sleeping, but even though I started to come down with the cold at that time, I came out of it really quickly. It didn't fully catch on. Drinking the apple cider vinegar in itself had a profound effect in terms of boosting my immune system. Another of the natural remedies was garlic, which you have to be quite careful. The smell can be rather obnoxious. But if you take 1 or 2 cloves of garlic, even if it's raw, and you chop it or mash it up and you mix it with food and you're eating it, consuming it late in the evening, say before you go to sleep, and then next morning you're showering and much of the smell is gone by then. There's times when I did become physically ill, say if I had the flu, on those occasions when I did, I would be roasting entire heads of garlic. At that point, I wasn't going out, I wasn't going to be around people, so it didn't matter so much the smell. But when I did, it helped me to get over the flu or cold more quickly. Guess it was kicking in or boosting my immune system. Both apple cider vinegar and garlic are very cheap, very affordable compared to the various nutritional supplements that we could be taking. When I was living in Oklahoma and also among some of the Native American communities and staying out on the Navajo Indian Reservation, I was training with my mentor, Horace Delkai, one of the last surviving traditional doctors, medicine men among the Kiowa Indian tribe. My mentor would often have me going into the sweat lodge. For those of you who don't know, sweat lodge is traditional ceremonial practice. They would take willow saplings, they would bury the ends in the ground, they would bend them over, and they would tie support beams going horizontally and then cover it with buffalo hides. Now they use blankets or tarps to cover them. And then you'd have a pit in the middle and these rocks that were glowing red because they had just taken them out of the fire. They'd pour water over the rocks. It would generate all this intense steam. But the steam and the heat would work to purge your lungs of any congestion. It's helping to pull the toxins out of your body. It had a profound cleansing effect going through the sweat lodge. And I know most people in our modern day world do not have access to sweat lodges. However, just about every major city and probably even a lot of medium-sized towns, there are saunas available. You can order saunas online. You can have your own personal sauna in your home, and you can derive many of the same benefits just by spending time within a sauna. For me, living in New Mexico and spending a lot of time in both India and Sri Lanka, became very much addicted to very spicy foods, eating a lot of hot chili peppers. These cultures, whether Indian, Sri Lanka, Indonesian, or Malaysian, their foods contain a great deal of spices. They can be very hot, but these foods have both immune boosting and disease fighting qualities. And a lot of people from these cultures know that if you're starting to feel run down or if you're coming down with cold or flu, just consuming some of these really spicy dishes helps to clean out your sinuses. These foods have natural antibiotic qualities and they assist in detoxification and they promote better circulation. In our modern day world, many of us are burning at both ends. We have too much on our plates. We're not getting enough sleep and we're worn out in many respects. And because of the lack of rest and depletion that many of us are experiencing, that makes us considerably more susceptible to coming down with cold or flu. So, as much as possible, I encourage you to the best of your ability, make rest a priority, because as you're getting adequate rest, that helps to keep your immune system functioning optimally. While I tend to be more of a night or evening person, years ago when I first started training with Shifu Li Tai Liang in the internal martial arts of Xingyi Quan, Baguazhang, Tai Chi, and Qigong, there was one winter where I was getting up as early as 4 a.m. and drinking huge amounts of black tea with milk like they do in Sri Lanka. I wasn't adding all the sugar like the Sri Lankans normally do, but I was getting so ramped up on caffeine. Literally felt like I was flying, and I would launch into my workouts. But I learned rather quickly that by jacking myself up on caffeine, that energy has to come from somewhere, and it was depleting my kidneys and adrenals, pulling the life force out of other parts of my body as well. I was coming down with a succession of colds, so I quickly realized that I got to stop doing that. So do be mindful about your caffeine consumption because, as I said, it does deplete the life force from your kidneys, adrenals, and other internal organs, which does make you more susceptible to cold, flu, and other illnesses. During the COVID pandemic, soon after the height of lockdown, I couldn't afford to be sidelined indefinitely. I had to work. And also, I had people with all kinds of serious health issues, people with histories of trauma and other serious emotional wounding that needed my intervention. Because of that, I needed to continue to assist people, which meant that I was traveling by plane to different cities. And I did wear a mask, doing the best I could to take precautions. But I also had to stay healthy. And so I went online and I was doing as much research as I could to find out what is it that I could take that would boost my immune system to make me less susceptible to coming down with COVID. Some of the supplements I began to take during that time, let's see, reduced glutathione. I'm going to be referring to my notes here, is a powerful antioxidant. It supports detoxification, strengthens the immune system, our immune defenses by neutralizing free radicals and reducing oxidative stress. There's quercetin, it's a plant flavonoid, has antiviral and anti-inflammatory effects, aids the body in combating respiratory infections, modulating immune responses. NAC, or N-acetylcysteine, helps replenish intercellular glutathione levels, supports respiratory health by thinning mucus, making it easier to expel during colds and flu. Also taking reishi and chaga mushroom. Both are adaptogenic fungi that enhance immune system function, reducing inflammation and providing antioxidants to combat illness. Those are a few of the many things I was taking. Let's see, also andrographis. It's a medicinal herb that also has antiviral and anti-inflammatory properties. So for about, let's see, over 6 years, I came down with the cold at one point. Didn't last very long. It was a time when I was under a great deal of stress and traveling crazy hours, hardly getting enough sleep at all. And one point I came down with COVID, and that was I had done a 2-week water fast And then I broke the water fast. I was consuming food again. And then I went on a vision quest where I was fasting alone in the Wichita Mountains. It's the traditional Native American practice. With the vision quest, you're not eating and you're not drinking, in this case, for 4 days and nights. So I think the combination of water fast and then shortly after the vision quest, I think my immune system got a little compromised there. And so um, at that time, I took the monoclonal antibodies and quickly got over the COVID. Aside from those two incidences, haven't come down with either COVID or cold or flu at any other point for I think it's over 6 years now. I also want to talk about vitamins, which are also essential for boosting our immune system. Vitamin C is known for enhancing the production and function of white blood cells, which are critical for fighting infections while also acting as a powerful antioxidant to reduce inflammation. Vitamin D, the sunshine vitamin, strengthens the immune cell activity, such as T cells and macrophages, and helps reduce susceptibility to infections. Zinc is another key nutrient vital for immune cell development and communication, as well as for preventing viruses from replicating. Vitamin A supports the health of the skin and mucous membranes. It's our first line of defense against pathogens, and it aids white blood cell function. Vitamin E provides antioxidant support to regulate immunity and combat oxidative stress. Additionally, selenium boosts our immune system's ability to fight infections by producing enzymes that protect cells from damage. And iron supports the development of immune cells and oxygen transport, which is crucial for overall health. There's more, but I encourage you to read the more detailed article. The link, if you're seeing this video on YouTube, will be down below in the notes. So click on the link, read, even print the more detailed article so you can refer back to it. Generally, I encourage people to be consuming on a regular basis the most nutrient-rich foods available. And those include citrus fruits like oranges and grapefruit, lemons and limes, which are rich in vitamin C, which play an essential role in increasing the production of white blood cells, the body's primary defense against infections. Garlic, as I mentioned earlier, has natural antibiotic qualities. Ginger offers anti-inflammatory and antioxidant benefits. Leafy greens such as spinach and kale are packed with vitamins A, C, and E, along with antioxidants that work to strengthen your immune system. Yogurt and kefir are excellent sources of probiotics, which are beneficial for gut health, a critical component of a strong immune system. And be sure to choose unsweetened yogurt or kefir with live active cultures for maximum benefit. If you're buying kefir or yogurt that contains sugar in it, refined sugar is going to compromise your immune system. Best refrain from refined white sugar as much as possible. Mushrooms like shiitake and reishi and maitake are especially rich in nutrients. Nuts and seeds, including almonds, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, provide vitamin E and zinc and other essential nutrients. Fatty fish like salmon, mackerel, and sardines are rich in essential omega-3 fatty acids, which reduce inflammation and promote better immune function. Green tea is loaded with antioxidants, which support the immune system and help the body fight off infections. And finally, Manuka honey has antimicrobial properties. It's a time-tested remedy for soothing sore throats, boosting recovery from cold and flu. Manuka honey is also especially effective for fighting some of these antibiotic resistant bacteria, superbugs like MRSA, which I've been exposed to on 2 occasions. I highly recommend that you have Manuka honey as part of your home first aid kit. MRSA can be spread, for instance, through physical contact, like if you shake someone's hand. Children in contact sports like wrestling, or if you're a woman going to get your nails done. The MRSA bacteria spreads rapidly. When I contracted it at that time, it was spreading rapidly up my arm in both instances. And I spread the Manuka honey on my arm and I wrapped it up in gauze bandage. I also added some turmeric for added bacterial fighting properties. It got rid of it in a few days. And by the way, turmeric is also very effective for um, fighting off cold and flu. If you're adding the apple cider vinegar to water, you can make it more palatable by adding some maple syrup, add a little turmeric, and also cayenne pepper for taste. For thousands of years, medicinal herbs have been used to address cold and flu symptoms. Osha root, for instance, has long been used as a traditional medicine by Native Americans. I will encourage you, however, to be very mindful of the use of Osha because it takes quite a while to grow and it's not the most plentiful herb. And so we don't want to completely deplete it. Osha has been used as a traditional medicine for its ability to alleviate cough and support respiratory health. It acts as an expectorant, helping to loosen and expel mucus from the lungs and airways, making it easier to clear congestion. Its anti-inflammatory properties help to soothe irritation in the respiratory tract, while its natural antiviral and antibacterial compounds address the underlying infection that may trigger coughing. Additionally, Osha root has mild bronchodilatory effects, which help to open the airways and reduce tightness. And its natural anesthetic qualities provide relief for dry, unproductive coughs by soothing the throat. For years, I would carry pieces of Osha root with me. I would break off a piece, I would chew it up. I will warn you, though, it tastes horrendous, but I used it because I found it especially effective for breaking up a lot of the congestion and eradicating the coughing. Yerba Santa, a traditional remedy, is renowned for its ability to alleviate cold and flu symptoms. Its expectorant properties help to clear mucus from the lungs, making it especially effective for respiratory conditions such as bronchitis and pneumonia. Additionally, its anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial qualities soothe irritated airways and support overall respiratory health. Yerba Santa is best taken either as a tincture, or you can drink it as a tea. Golden seal and echinacea are also powerful herbal allies for supporting the immune system during colds and flu. Golden seal is known for its antimicrobial and anti-inflammatory properties, helping to soothe mucous membranes and combat infections. Echinacea boosts immune function, enhancing the body's ability to fight off viruses and reduces the severity and duration of respiratory illnesses. Golden seal and echinacea as well can be taken as a tincture, or you can steep it in water and drink it as tea. Elderberry is rich in antioxidants and immune boosting compounds, helps to reduce the duration and severity of viral infections. It is particularly effective in alleviating symptoms such as congestion, sore throat, and fever, making it an excellent remedy for both cold and flu. It's often consumed as a syrup, as a tea, as an extract. Elderberry actually has a pleasant taste. You can find it in many of your holistic markets, and you can be taking it preemptively to help boost your immune system through the winter. The fact that I travel different parts of the world, and especially in India, Sri Lanka, where I've had Muslim friends and a lot of interaction with people in the Muslim communities, black seed oil is fairly popular among the Muslim world. And it's said to have potent anti-inflammatory properties that can reduce inflammation in the respiratory tract, helping to alleviate symptoms such as sore throat and congestion and coughing. I think you could also get black seed oil at many of your holistic markets. You can order it through places like Vitacost, which is a really good source for nutritional supplements, VITACOST.com. Homeopathic first aid. There's a company called Boreon. It makes an excellent flu remedy called oscillocum. You get these 3 little vials. They recommend that you take them about 6 hours apart at the first sign of a cold or flu. And there are times where I felt I was coming down with something. I would take the recommended 3 doses of oscillocum, and it would stop the flu dead in its tracks. I think I left something out when I was talking about the importance of rest. There are times when I felt I was starting to come down with something, and I tend to run at pretty high volume. My life is quite demanding. There have been times when I could feel myself becoming especially depleted and on the verge of coming down with the cold or flu. There's a very distinct feeling that happens in my body as that occurs. And what I would do, many instances, I would lay down, often on my side or on my back, and I could feel that depletion within my body. And I would intentionally bring my awareness into those areas of my body where I was feeling especially depleted and become very still instead of kicking so much energy out, instead of this high expenditure of energy. I completely did the opposite. I was downgrading my output, and instead I was going more inwards, and I would feel that depletion. As I did so, with my awareness fully centered in that sense of depletion within my body, I would breathe very softly and very deeply, and I would stay with that for however long I needed to. And what I found in many instances is there would be an alleviation or a lessening of that sense of depletion. And I could feel that the life force would start to come back. What I would do then is follow the progression. Now, as I felt the life force in my body, I would have my awareness fully immersed in that subtle life force wherever I felt it stronger, and I would continue to breathe in it, and that life force would grow stronger and would fill my body more. And there have been a number of times where I've done this. And so instead of going into the cold or flu, instead of it having it progress into the cold or flu, I did a 180 and my body would rebound. I would still take it easy for the remainder of that day, but I have on a number of occasions prevented myself from coming down with the cold or flu by doing that. I'm not going to say that it's going to work for everybody in every instance, but it has worked for me on a number of occasions. Now, if you're on the verge of coming down with something cold or flu, there are certain interventions such as acupuncture and reflexology that can be especially beneficial. You want to be mindful with a practitioner. You could always wear a mask, so it greatly reduces the risk of you transmitting the infection to someone else. Times when my body is especially depleted, there's a place I go to in Chinatown in Flushing when I'm in the New York City area, and I would get reflexology or full body massage, and it just helps to restore and rebalance my body at those times when I've gotten a little too depleted and my body's getting somewhat out of whack, from all the stress and craziness of travel and demanding schedule. On many occasions, I would get these calls. I'd be scheduled to work with someone, and apparently they'd come down with either a cold or flu, and they're asking me, well, I don't know if I should keep my appointment because I have a cold or I have a flu now. And they're wondering if it's really advantageous for them, but they're also concerned that they may potentially pass the sickness on to me. I'm not that worried about it myself. Uh, as long as I'm boosting my immune system, I have found that I usually don't pick up on other people's infections, cold or flu, but I appreciate the thought. There have been numerous instances over the years where people that I've worked with, while they had a cold or flu, maybe they were so physically ill that it wasn't really possible for them to do the sitting meditation practices that I normally have people do at the beginning of the session. But what would usually happen is we would skip right to the table work. What I found especially interesting is that I've noticed that during illnesses, the body's defense mechanisms, or what we refer to as body armoring, is often less rigid. It's as though the illness temporarily softens these layers of stress and suppressed emotion, not just within the physical body, but within the mind and the psyche. What often happens is that these defenses soften. And so the deeper underlying wounding that people carry within their bodies, in many instances, I have found it to be more accessible. These parts of the body, the psyche, are more malleable. It actually provides us the opportunity to do deeper work, to address these aspects of our emotional wounding more effectively. And this creates the opportunities for profound shifts, not only in physical recovery, but also in emotional and psychological well being. I've also noticed that as I work with people with cold or flu, when they go ahead and come in for the sessions, is that the work we do on the table enables them to cycle through the illness and to recover more quickly. Now, what I've shared in this video is only a brief overview. There's an immense wealth of medical knowledge, for instance, with traditional Chinese medicine, with Ayurvedic medicine, with many other ancient systems of medicine or traditional folk remedies. There's also many highly effective immune boosting supplements and a wide array of other medicinal herbs. So keep yourself open, stay curious, and be willing to explore and do whatever it takes to maintain your health. Thank you for joining me today. Be sure to click like and subscribe if you haven't already done so, if you're watching this video on YouTube. And as I said, look below, click on the link and read the more detailed article that's posted on my blog.